Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. My name is Sia Nejad, otherwise known as the Counselor of Cash, and this show is brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. We've got already people hitting parlays on the Australian Open. Pogo Picks hit a 16-1 parlay. Well, we had nothing to do with that, but Pogo Picks, good job there. I see you, Big Roadie, Big Cheesy in the chat, Farzad, Cleveland Clown. Thanks for being in here. Let's see how we did on the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. 1-3. Buckets misses his. Prop Stars goes 1-for-2. Hits that Giannis under, but misses on the DeMar DeRozan over. Let's see if we can pick things up today. We ride alongside Danny Brasco, who was in the chat, but we've also got Meg Shoup on the show, Mike McClure, Tom Casale, and Mikey B. This is such a cool crew because it tells us one thing, if nothing else. We have a lot to cover. We can cover NFL with this team. We can cover college basketball, NBA, PGA, and tennis. So you know what? I'm going to skip hellos right now. Mike, we had somebody hit a big tennis parlay in the chat. Why don't we kick this show off right here, right now with a tennis pick?
All right. We've got a tennis pick in the Aussie Open. You know, when we get to major championship season, I love looking at totals. I'm going over. I know we all love a good over. I expect a long match here between Tommy Paul and Fokina. Not going to attempt to always pronounce his name. I struggle with this one for whatever reason. It's not one of the more difficult ones, but this match should be fun, right? So these two players, Tommy Paul is electric. He's explosive. He is potentially battling a little bit of injury concern, which brings the level of these two players a lot closer. They have played before. They will have long rallies. That's one of Tommy Paul's real skill sets, frankly, is getting in to some of those longer rallies. And this number over at FanDuel this morning, 37.5. I believe it has now moved to 38.5. I would still play it there. Definitely get in before 40, but ultimately I'm expecting at least 4 sets here, if not 5. Fokina is someone that really had a long match coming into this, so he could have some concern, but he's just a grinder. He's out there and he's pushing every point. And with someone like Tommy Paul, who invites longer rallies kind of by his nature, I expect a match that goes back and forth, seesawing, winning games, racking up that total. Look, at 37.5, there's a scenario where you could get there in a straight set victory with tiebreakers. So you always want to leave yourself that option when I'll get questions between 37.5 at -120 or 38.5 at even money. At -120, I'd still prefer the 37.5 for that reason. But I love this match back and forth. I think it's going to be a long one here between Fokina and Tommy Paul. Again, Tommy Paul, it's not a massive injury concern, more fatigue than anything for me, but I think the level of the players are a lot closer. On the surface, Tommy Paul is definitely the better player. However, longer rallies, give me the over in this one.
All right, we're taking an over in the Australian Open. Jerry Edlin in the chat says, getting snowed in, drinking hot coffee, and betting games this weekend. Yeah, if you're on the East Coast, especially this sort of the southeastern corridor, if that's the way to put it, it looks like, I should say we are going to get smashed with some snow, but you never know. Things change pretty rapidly. Mikey B, you're not a big fan of this this call on potential snow here.
No, I don't. Snow is fun when you're little, but when you're an adult, all it means is your kids are home on snow days, and then you still have to snowball your driveway while the kids are home, and you have to try and figure out how to work. So it's not exactly fun when you're an adult.
Meg, I saw a thumbs down from you as well. It's not only snow, but it looks like it's going to be like heavy ice as well, which really complicates matters. Your thoughts?
I'm a big snow Scrooge. You know, I think it's messy. I think it's dangerous. I don't like it. I don't know. I feel like I'm in line with Mikey B here. So, you know, I feel like sometimes that might be a hot take, but here I feel like I'm in a safe space. So snow Scrooge over here. Yeah.
Tom, I trust you're a snow Scrooge as well. It is Scrooge on some other stuff as well, if I'm remembering correctly. With that said, Tom, can I ask you your comments on that? But also, now that we've turned the page from college football for you, are we college basketball intensive, or are we opening it up to other things as well over the next 3, 4, 5 months?
Yeah, well, I'm actually not a snow Scrooge for a couple of reasons. One, I don't like people. 2, I don't like to leave the house. So we're going to get about 20 inches this weekend. And Mikey, listen, do what I do. Pay somebody to come and get that snow out of there. I'm not going out there and shoveling. $50 a shot. Get it out. That's
I can't
that's
do it,
my
Tom. I
recommendation.
can't do it. You got to do it yourself. You got to do it yourself.
Mikey B, this screams snowplow parlay. And so I couldn't help but notice, could not help but notice that you've got 2 NBA picks today. So they don't have to be in the parlay, but before the show is out, we do need a snowplow parlay. Unless somebody has a catchier name, we can go with that too. But Mikey B, we may as well get to your picks as well. Amen Thompson, Julius Randle.
All right, I'll give the picks, and then I'll work on the snowplow parlay while everybody else is giving their picks. So first and foremost, Amen Thompson over 12.5 rebounds and assists at -127. He's averaging a career-high 37 minutes per game this season. That's helped him average 7.7 rebounds and 5.1 assists. This game's on the road. On the road, he's averaging 8.5 rebounds and 5.5 assists, and also no Steven Adams, who's one of the best rebounders that the Rockets have. In 9 games without Adams this season, Thompson has averaged a combined 13.8 rebounds and assists. He's playing the 76ers. They rank 20th in rebounds allowed and 23rd in assists allowed per game. So I like this over 12.5 rebounds and assists. And the exact same number, we're going to play over 12.5 rebounds and assists for Julius Randle. This game will be played in Minnesota, where he's averaged 7.1 rebounds and 6 assists a game. And he's playing our Bulls, who we love to attack, because they play at the 4th fastest pace in the league, and they play no defense. They've allowed the 7th most rebounds per game, the 5th most assists per game. He played them in Chicago earlier this season. He had 5 rebounds and 14 assists. I think he's going to remain productive in both departments and go over 12.5 rebounds and assists. And now I will be quiet. I will look for a winter hat and some gloves, and I'll start working on the snowplow parlay. I have a snow blower. I have a very long driveway, Tom. It takes me about 2 hours to snow blow my driveway. So if I was going to pay someone to do it, it wouldn't be cost effective. I'd have to hit a lot of parlays, a lot.
Mike, I know you have a comment here, but I also want you to comment on whether or not that was a flex by Mikey B on the long driveway.
I think it was a moderate flex by Mikey B on the driveway. I heard a rumor about the Casale house when it comes to snow removal time. They actually all sit inside and watch and bet over under on how long it takes. And the loser actually has to pay the tab for the other kid who's out shoveling.
Yeah, I went in on those bets. That sounds legitimately fun. All right, we've got, if you have questions NBA related, again, tennis related, PGA related, college basketball, NFL, guess what? This crew, just like pretty much every other day, this crew is going to be here to answer them. And Meg and Mike, of course, we're going to be on at 11 o'clock breaking down the conference championship games from a DFS and perhaps a prop perspective as well. Again, at 11 o'clock on the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel today in just about 50 minutes. Let's talk about some BetMGM promos before we get to your questions and a lot more picks. BetMGM players will receive an any sport odds boost today. Use the boost. To use the boost, just make any bet on BetMGM, and if you win, you'll receive extra winnings in unrestricted bonus dollars. Let's get to some SportsLine picks. We've got Jeff Hockman. He's sharp, weighing in. Wisconsin -5.5 at -108. And then speaking of sharp, we got prop stars with Cooper Flag over 10.5 rebounds and assists. Those are a couple of SportsLine picks. Wisconsin -5.5 and Cooper Flag over 10.5 rebounds and assists from Jeff Hockman and prop stars. All right, we got to get to my PGA pick. We got to get to Tom's pick, which implicates the NFL, college basketball, and the NHL. And Meg, of course, we got to get to your NFL picks as well. And your questions, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get to it right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We are back on the early edge. Mikey B, quick question from Moshe, who's sharp in his own right. He says he's sprinkled on the 76ers tonight. Any thoughts on the side?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd lean there. Steven Adams is a big absence for the Rockets. He really provides that double big lineup of him and Sengun has been pretty important. Clint Capella is not going to play Steven Adams minutes, so they're going to go with some more smaller lineups. They do have Eason's back. Joel Embiid is listed as probable for the 76ers. That certainly helps. Paul George is questionable. I'd like that even more if Paul George plays. But I don't mind if you want to put a sprinkle on the 76ers.
All right, Meg, let's get to your picks. Let's start talking some NFL because we've got a couple of picks from you. And then, of course, Tom has an NFL pick as well. Don't worry, I've got my PGA pick pending. If you got PGA picks, let me know in the chat. But, Meg, you've got a play on Ramondre Stevenson, which I love. I gave out a play on Ramondre, I guess it would have been yesterday. So these correlate really well. And then you've got an anytime touchdown look. But start off with Ramondre.
Sure. I like Ramondre Stevenson over 70.5 rush plus receiving minus 118. He's now the true RB1 for the Pats. Since week 15, I believe week 15, he has 77 or more scrimmage yards. Week 14, 77 or more scrimmage yards on 65% of the snaps. He has about 60% of the touches so far for the Patriots in the playoffs these last two games. So he is playing like a true lead back, has gotten us over this number since week 14. And you could approach it rushing, you could approach it receiving. I'm going to approach it rush plus receiving. And he has gotten over 100 plus in 3 of the last 4 games. So I'm considering laddering that up. I just really like Ramondre in this spot. And we know the Broncos just allowed 174 total yards to the Bills running backs last week, while the Broncos are an excellent defense. I do think Ramondre can easily get over this number, and I'm considering laddering it as well.
Yeah, I like that. And I mean, listen, Denver's defense is great, but it's also a little bit more vulnerable than people think. And I honestly think I said this yesterday, I think Ramondre's split would have even been more stark with Trevion if he hadn't had that eye issue in the second quarter. That listen, Trevion might have mixed in during him being out, but I really think that led to 3 or 4 more touches for Trevion, considering how much they seem to trust in Ramondre with his efficiency as well. Speaking of a guy that people trust, or Sean McVay trusts, certainly. Listen, Blake Corum's a good running back. He'll probably get some touches. But Kyren Williams is a guy that the Rams truly trust in that backfield. What do you like from him on Sunday?
Exactly. Trip to the Super Bowl on the line. McVay trusts Kyren. Last week, Kyren played 63% of the snaps, had 25 touches. Week 16 in this matchup, Williams had 70% of the snaps. He has 16 total touchdowns on the season, and 3 being in the postseason, 2 last week. Usually when I'm looking at anytime touchdowns, of course, I'm considering matchup, and that's why the price is what it is against a very tough Seattle defense. But I also consider the price and the usage. And for a guy with this kind of usage, because inside the 5-yard line, he was 3rd among running backs with 18 total carries inside the 5-yard line. He was tied with CMC. A guy like this with 16 touchdowns, 13 in the regular season, 3 in the postseason, I think we'd be paying a lot of juice on this. So to get Kyren Williams plus 120 anytime touchdown, I am all over that.
All right, Kyren Williams anytime touchdown at plus 120. Tom, before we get to your picks, Mike, there is a golf question. And of course, I have a golf matchup to give out in a few minutes. But Mike, I know that this is kind of a finicky tournament with the 3-course rotation. Mm-hmm. And we've spoken earlier this morning, and I know you don't have any outrights. You'll probably wait until next week, and then you'll have outrights for the next 30 weeks. However, You do play one and done, and so do a lot of other people. And Sean Betty wants to know, do you have any one and done suggestions?
I do, yes. In a comment on the, just multiple courses, pro-am element, so the timing's very different for players there early season as well. Just the way that I play and the way that I bet, which is computer modeling essentially everything and finding value that way, it becomes more difficult to model 3 courses, changing courses, new cut rules, pro-am timing, things like that. So I personally opt to skip weeks like this, because that's the beauty of what we do is you're not forced to do anything, right? So that's why I'm not playing it. I play a little DFS. I'm always competing in one and done. For one and done, there are 4 entries, playing 4 different golfers on them. Alex Noren, Harry Hall, who I played last week, playing on another entry here. Sepp Straka and Siwoo Kim. The one that I played Harry Hall last week, which is off to a great start, I'm playing Alex Noren in that one. I think Noren is unlikely to win the event, but extremely likely to finish in the top 20 at this one. So I like Alex Noren would be my top choice in one and done. Harry Hall would be my second. And then after that, it's between Sepp Straka and Siwoo Kim. I think Sepp Straka is going to take a little bit of ownership this week.
Yeah, makes sense. Former last year's champ. Sean Betty says, yes, Money Mike knows, always look for his one and dones every week going on years. And he also says, you guys are awesome. Thanks for saying that, Sean. And hopefully you and everybody else have already hit the like button. And Sean, If you don't mind, go ahead and review the podcast on Apple or Spotify. That always helps. 5-star review plus some comments, maybe specifically about Mike or some of the other people that are part of this SportsLine Early Edge network. Tom's one of them. Mike, before I go to you, Mike, you've got something.
Yeah, just last question. While we're tied into one and done, we do have an opportunity to play one and done with the Splash Sports contest. It has not started yet. It does not start this week, so you can continue to ask questions and learn. I know that one and done and DFS are foreign for a lot of people. They do require a little more effort than simply placing a bet. We can talk about it either on this show or later at more appropriate times, but there's still opportunities, and one and done is a great contest. The closest thing for most of you is think NFL Survivor Pool. You get to use a golfer each week. You can never use them again, just like the team. The only difference is you're not eliminated if your golfer doesn't win the event.
That's right. And Splash Sports makes it so easy because literally, if you've never played one and done or you're not even a golf fan, I still encourage you to go to splashsports.com/wedge because you get to enter it for free. And they make it so easy because they have the pictures of all the golfers that you haven't used, and they have them ranked by basically from the top, you'll see the bigger players, and you can just scroll down and pick a player and you're done. That's it. You are completely done for that week. And then you go to the next week and that guy you can't use anymore and he's blacked out. I mean, it could not be easier. Again, $5,000 on the line, splashsports.com/wedge. And it doesn't start till the WM Phoenix Open. So it gives you a couple of weeks, but just get in there now so we can really get a head count of who we've got involved here. Appreciate that shout out. All right, Tom, let's get to the Broncos. So this is cool because you've got a parlay that has an NHL and college basketball element, but you're going to start us off with the Broncos plus 5.5.
Yeah, listen, I just can't get there at 5.5 with the Patriots on the road. I'm sorry. And I'm not in the Patriots or frauds camp, but if you look at their first two playoff games, they played the two of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. That's just a fact. The Chargers have both starting tackles out. The Texans, their quarterback had one of the worst playoff games in recent memory. I mean, literally, all he does not have to do is turn the ball over with that team. And what does he do? He turns it over 5 times. So now that both those games were at home, now they go on the road. Now I get that Bo Nix isn't playing. I get it. I don't think Jarrett Stidham is a bad backup quarterback. I know Sean Payton's been raving about him since he's been there. And, the Broncos defense isn't injured. They're still going to be there. So I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I see like a 2017 kind of final here. After I give out my parlay, I'd be interested to hear Mike's take on this as well about just the 5.5 to me just seems like too big of a line adjustment. So I'm going to take the points with the Broncos on Sunday. But for tonight, I'm going to go. So the Thursday college basketball cards are terrible. So I went with a parlay here. I'm looking at St. Thomas. They won 9 games in a row. Then they lost at a good North Dakota State team. They return home tonight against South Dakota State. This isn't your typical South Dakota State team. They're 500 on the season. St. Thomas undefeated at home. This is one of those teams. There's a couple of mid-major teams I think might be able to win a game in the NCAA tournament. St. Thomas is one of them if they get the right matchup. So lay in the 7.5. I don't want to lay that number because I do think it'll be a competitive game, but I think they get the win at home. And then I think the Oilers are in a great spot tonight. I gave out Pittsburgh last night against Calgary. And in my write-up, I mentioned that Stuart Skinner had been red hot. And they won last night. So he's now 6-0-1 in his last 7 starts at goaltender. But that was the first time all season he had played back-to-back games. So tonight was supposed to be his return to Edmonton. Only problem is he doesn't look like he's going to start. So they're going to go to their backup goaltender, 3rd game on the road, back-to-back nights in Edmonton. That's just too tough. Give me the Oilers to win that. So I'll take that parlay, those two money line plus 100.
All right, so we got the Broncos plus 5.5, and we got St. Thomas in college basketball parlayed with Edmonton in the NHL, which I believe some people in the chat were talking about Edmonton. Maybe better days ahead, Moshi as well. I thought I saw that they were maybe leaning into Edmonton. That money line parlay is even money, a plus 100. Mike, he did ask for your thoughts on this Broncos game, and I do want to add to this. Big Rody has a question. He says, I got the Pats at -4, which is certainly a different number than 5.5. Right when it came out, he says, now it's 5.5. Do you think it goes back down before kickoff? Well, Mike, 2 things. I don't think it's going down to 4 or even 4.5. What are your thoughts there? And what do you think about the 5.5?
Yeah, I don't think it's going back down to 4 personally. I think that it's strong value at 5.5. when you set up, for me, again, running simulations, the way I set it up, you make some pretty aggressive assumptions to dock Denver, because I don't want to get into a situation where you're backing a quarterback that's got no shot. And the biggest number I could get to is 3.5. So it would be Denver plus 5.5 or nothing. And I think in these situations, while it's great to have a bet and you want to have a bet, like it's okay to lean nothing. What I wouldn't do is go pile on the Patriots. Like, I know a lot of people that probably have the Patriots money line and every parlay that they've possibly created. That's the situation that I personally would avoid. Stidham has been in this system. He's sharp. He's far from one of the worst backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, he's definitely near the top of the list. He's got a Hall of Fame coach, a great defense, a home field advantage, got altitude. There's all sorts of things working in the favor of Denver still. So to me, it was just a big overreaction, right? So the way I looked at it, some said Denver would have been 3.5 on, at home. I don't think it would have been 3.5. I think it would have been 1.5 to 2.5. It would not have been on the other side of the 3. But even if we call it the 1.5 and going through the 0 on that, you're essentially still saying that Bo Nix was worth over a touchdown to his backup. And I just simply think that's not true. So yeah, if I had to play it, it would certainly be Broncos or nothing. And I do think it's a pretty strong play, because without making those aggressive assumptions, I make the line like 2. I make the Pats -2 in that game.
Very interesting. So. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things here. Mikey B, I know you have your snowplow parlay. Let me finally get my golf pick out of the way, because it does start, like the tournament starts in about an hour. I think my golf play is later on in the afternoon, though. It's a round 1 2 ball. This one's a little juicy, and you all know me. I give out round matchups almost every Thursday and Friday, if not Wednesday sometimes, depending on time of the tournament. Once we get over to the East Coast, these are probably going to be starting on Wednesday in terms of me giving out round matchups. If you're in the SportsLine Discord, or maybe if you follow me on Twitter, you know that Max Grazerman is one of my first round leaders. I'm a little like, I don't have him as an outright, because Max Grazerman's one of those guys where I'm not 100% sure that he can close in a field like this, but I do like him over, of all players, Tony Finau. I mean, the fade Finau train, everybody's kind of on it. And even though this is juicy, it's close to -140. In fact, it is -140 in some spots, but you can catch it at -138 as well. Max Grazerman in a round 1 2 ball over Tony Finau. It's just a price I'm willing to play, knowing a couple of things. One, Max Grazerman played really well last week, and we saw him flash last year here and there. So I just like the idea of him continuing to play well, coming off what you might want to call a warm-up last week at the Sony Open. The other thing is Tony Finau and Max Grazerman are on the Stadium course, and that's the one course of the 3 that we actually have shot tracker from. What do we know about Max Grazerman specifically last year when it came to the Stadium course, where, again, we have strokes gain data and shot tracker? He played really, really well. It appears that this is a good fit for him from an approach specifically, not really off the tee, but he's never really great off the tee. From an approach and short game standpoint, he absolutely smashed it. So you combine that with the fact that he was good last week, and the fact that Tony Finau has been terrible for quite some time, including last week, where he lost a ton of strokes on approach. He certainly has some experience here at the American Express. It's good and bad, but Tony Finau has not been in form for probably going on 2 years now. So I'm happy to take this round 1 2 ball. Yes, it's juicy, but it's a really good setup for Max Grazerman. And again, he's one of my first round leaders. Check it out on my Twitter or the SportsLine Discord, where I did put my first round leaders. Let's see. Let's go to the snowplow parlay. Mikey B, you've got the floor.
All right, here we go. We're going to get our hats and our mittens and our snow goggles, and we're going to fire up the snowblower, and here's the snowplow parlay. First, we're going to do Anthony. Oh, look at that picture from Ben. Wow, that's fantastic. Ben is the man. I like this picture. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, this is much better than my head on the fat baby's body. So I like this one much better, Ben. This may overtake the Pampers parlay. So first, we're going to do Anthony Edwards, 25+ points. His actual points line's like 30.5 or 31.5. He's playing the Bulls. We've already talked about how they play no defense. One of my favorite bets always is Luka Doncic's 10+ points in the first quarter. He usually plays the entire first quarter. He's playing the Clippers tonight. Contrary to belief, they're not a very good defensive team. And then Julian Champagnie, 10+ points. He scored at least 11 points in 9 of his last 10 games. He's playing the Jazz. He just scored 13 points against them the other day. Very good 3-point shooter against a team that plays no defense. So you put all that together, you mash it up into one big snowball, and that's plus 188.
Big Cheesy says this is a great look for plus 188. And Meg, I got to say, this is a great look for Mikey B. Like the outfit looks so stylish. I almost feel like it's doing a disservice to the live Mikey B, Meg, because this picture looks too good.
I love it. I love it. Too good to be just shoveling snow out there. I love it. Absolutely.
That is definitely not me. I don't own anything that is not sports related shirt, except for the few dress up shirts that I have when I go on CBS Sports Network. But no, that is definitely not in my attire. I'm the old, worn out North Face jacket, a Yankees or a Giants hat. No, there's nothing stylish about me. I can promise you that. I am the old man who's out there looking like a hobo doing his snow blowing.
Ben is a producer, he's a capper, and he's a stylist, clearly. Big Cheesy wants to know, or actually he's just making this call, but Mikey B, I want to know, do you like Steph Curry over 9.5 rebounds and assists at minus 130?
Yeah, I don't mind that. He's going to need to have the ball in his hands a lot. Jimmy Butler is a very good passer. So he's going to have less opportunities. So Curry's going to have more passing opportunities. Plus, he's going to be double teamed more because now you don't have that offensive threat of Butler. So he might have a few extra assists that way too. So yeah, I don't mind that. I like it.
Mikey B, are the Warriors just like done for like eternity now? Like no Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry is a lot older now. Like what do you do if you're the Warriors?
I honestly, and I think I said this before the show started. I wasn't kidding. I really think they should take like contracts and second round picks because you're not going to need first round picks for these guys. And I would go after Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan and just lean into these veteran guys that can help them in the playoffs. They need scoring. I like Vucevic for them, not just because I'm trying anything possible to get him off the Bulls because he plays no defense. I think he'd be a good fit for them because he can score, which they need, and he's a good passer. He's not just one of those guys that you dump it in and then it stays in the post. He's a very good passer and a good three-point shooter. And DeRozan's one of those guys that just lives in the mid-range. He can get you 18, 20 points a night. I think they should do something like that. Kuminga has to go. It's just a matter of what they can get back.
Good question here. And Mike, I'm going to give this one to you from Scott Blakely. We'll get to the recap screen in just a couple of minutes. First half under Broncos versus Patriots. Now, you might recall, Mike, we were on HQ last night, and one of the plays, I think it was last night or the night before, that I gave out was the first quarter under in that Broncos-Patriots game under 7.5. And again, my thought is both teams play conservative, rely on their defenses for obvious reasons here. Any thoughts on the first half under here, Broncos-Patriots?
Yeah, I would prefer the first quarter to the first half. Just when you start getting to an under 21, like the number is 20.5 now, going to under 20.5. I would prefer, and just emphasize how drastically different that is than 21, 23, or 24, which you see all the time. If I were to play an under early in that game, it would be a first quarter more so than a first half.
Totally agree.
I like under 7.5.
I like that under 2. Before we get out of here, Meg, we're going to touch on both this game and the Rams. And Mike, I'll go back to you as well. Yeah. And the Rams Seahawks game on FFT DFS at 11 o'clock, which reminds me, the other Splash Sports contest that we're all in, almost 1,000 of us in that, the NFL one. Don't forget to put in your picks this week. Some of us are out of it. I'm probably out of it, but some of us certainly still contending. So put your picks in, even if you're out of it, put your picks in and stay active. And while you're there, go ahead and get in our one and done. And if you're already in the app, just type in CBS Sports and you'll see CBS Sports Commish pop up, and then you'll be able to find the one and done contest along with the NFL contest you're already in. Meg, any thoughts on the Seahawks Rams game, spread wise?
Seahawks Rams game, I've been struggling with that. I'm leaning towards Rams, but that one I'm struggling with from the spread perspective. I am leaning Rams on that one.
Yeah, I'm leaning Rams too. Tom, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I know Mike and I mentioned this earlier in the week. Sean McVay coached such a bad game against the Bears. He's a great coach. So every now and then one of those stinkers pops up, especially in his play calling. I just can't see him doing that twice. And the Seahawks face basically a third team. Now, I mean, the Eagles losing to that Niners team is a joke, but I just feel like the Rams, to me, are going to have I think McVay's going to call a great game. I lean the Rams here to pull the small upset on the road.
I mean, if you're Seattle and you just got to play the San Francisco 49ers 2 games in a row, a team that has a terrible defense, but specifically has a terrible pass rush, and now Sam Darnold has to face a pass rush, and we know what can happen when that happens. It just seems to me that the Sam Darnold seeing ghost is going to make an appearance here and there in that game, like it did in the last game that the Rams played the Seahawks. I really like the Rams plus 2.5 here. They got some issues on defense as well, but I agree the Sean McVay factor, Matt Stafford factor hails for me there. All right, I think we can get out of here. I don't think we have any outstanding questions. Again, Sean, you're asking 11 a.m. Yes, Fantasy Football Today DFS will be at 11 a.m. on the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel. Not this channel, but the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel. We have some props on the prop show tomorrow on this SportsLine YouTube channel at 3 o'clock, just so everybody knows that might be new to this channel. All right, Max Grazerman, minus 138 over Tony Finau. It's a round 1 2-ball. To this afternoon, of course, for the American Express. Then we go to the Aussie Open. Tommy Paul versus Alejandro Fokina, over 37.5 games, minus 120. Amen Thompson, over 12.5 rebounds and assists at minus 127 from Mikey B. He also has Julius Randle, over 12.5 rebounds and assists at minus 130. Then we go to Tom. On Sunday, he likes the Broncos plus 5.5 at minus 110. And today, he's got a parlay. St. Thomas in college basketball and Edmonton in the NHL. That's a moneyline parlay at even money. We go to Ramondre Stevenson on Sunday for Meg Shoup, over 70.5 rushing and receiving yards, minus 118. And Kyron Williams, anytime touchdown at plus 120. We're seeing people have the snowplow parlay, by the way, at plus 206. Let's go to the SportsLine picks. We've got Wisconsin minus 5.5 from Jeff Hockman and Cooper Flagg, over 10.5 rebounds and assists from Prop Stars. And then finally, let's take a look at the stylish Mikey B and his snowplow parlay. It's Anthony Edwards, 25 plus points, Luka Doncic, 10 plus first quarter points, and Julian Champagnie, 10 plus points. That is plus 188. Jen says, stay warm, everyone. Have a great day. Those are solid words from Jen. Rick Funcannon saying, you the man, Ben. Ben really is the man. Big thank you to Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. A big thank you to Mikey B, Meg Shoup, Tom Casale, and of course, Mike McClure. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow on BPE Friday at 10 o'clock. Maybe Buckets makes an appearance from Germany. We'll have to wait and see on that. I'll have some golf picks. We'll have a lot coming to you on Friday for sure. And again, the prop show tomorrow on this channel at 3 o'clock on Friday. But for now, we're going to get out of here. Maybe we'll see you in 27 minutes on the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel with me, Meg, and Mike. It's been a great morning already. Let's have a great afternoon and evening. See you later. We rest our case.